The fluorescent lights of Westfield Mall blurred above Maya's head as Trevor's fingers tightened around her throat. His pupils were dilated so wide his blue eyes looked black, and the chemical stench rolling off him made her stomach turn. She clawed at his hands, her new manicure breaking against his skin, but his grip only squeezed harder. "You think you can embarrass me?" Trevor hissed, spit flying from his chapped lips. "You think you can just walk away from me in front of everyone?" Maya's vision started to tunnel. The Saturday afternoon crowd in the food court seemed to move in slow motion, heads turning, phones rising, but no one stepping forward. No one helping. Her lungs screamed for air. This couldn't be how it ended. Not here. Not like this. Not at the hands of the boy she'd tried so hard to save. Then, as suddenly as it began, Trevor's hands were gone. Maya collapsed against the sticky tile floor, gasping, her throat on fire. Through watering eyes, she saw Trevor suspended in the air, his feet dangling 6 inches off the ground. The man holding him by the back of his shirt was tall, over 6 feet, with dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Maya's car, and his gray eyes were colder than anything she'd ever seen. "You're done," the stranger said quietly. His voice was cultured, controlled, but underneath it ran something deadly. Trevor thrashed in his grip like a fish on a hook. "Get off me, man! This is none of your business!" The stranger's expression didn't change. He simply turned and walked toward the mall exit, carrying Trevor as though he weighed nothing. Maya watched, still gasping against the floor, as 2 other men in dark suits materialized from the crowd and followed. And then the stranger glanced back at her. Just once. His eyes met hers across 15 feet of food court chaos, and something electric shot through Maya's chest. Something that had nothing to do with oxygen deprivation and everything to do with the way he looked at her. Like he was memorizing her face. Like she mattered. Then he was gone, disappearing through the automatic doors with Trevor still dangling from his fist. Maya's best friend Jenna dropped to her knees beside her. "Oh my God, are you okay? I called security, but they're not here yet, and I didn't know what to do, and—" "Who was that?" Maya croaked, her voice barely working. "I don't know, but he just saved your life." Maya touched her throat, feeling the places where bruises were already forming. Trevor had been getting worse for months. The pills, the mood swings, the paranoia. She'd tried to get him help. Begged him to go to rehab. But tonight, when she'd told him in the middle of the mall that she was done, that she couldn't watch him destroy himself anymore, something in him had snapped. Security finally arrived, useless and 12 minutes too late. They took her statement while Jenna held her hand. Yes, she wanted to press charges. No, she didn't know where Trevor was now. No, she didn't know the identity of the man who'd intervened. But she couldn't stop thinking about those cold gray eyes and the way they'd softened, just for a second, when they'd looked at her. 3 days later. The bruises on Maya's throat had turned from red to purple, to a sickly yellow-green that no amount of concealer could hide. She'd called in sick to her job at the art gallery, spent the days curled up on her couch with the deadbolt locked and a kitchen knife on the coffee table. Trevor hadn't come back. He hadn't called. According to his roommate, he'd packed a bag and left town, muttering something about debts and dangerous people. She should have felt relieved. Instead, she felt hollow. 3 years with Trevor, watching him spiral, trying to fix him, losing herself in the process. And for what? To end up with finger-shaped bruises and a restraining order? Maya was heating up leftover soup when someone knocked on her apartment door. Her blood went cold. She grabbed the knife, approached slowly. "Who is it?" "My name is Luca Moretti," came a smooth, accented voice. "We met briefly on Saturday. I wanted to check that you were all right." Her mysterious savior. Maya's hand trembled as she unlocked the deadbolt and opened the door, keeping the chain latched. He looked different in the afternoon light streaming through her hallway window. Less terrifying, somehow, though no less imposing. He'd traded the suit for dark jeans and a black sweater that probably cost $1,000. His dark hair was slightly mussed, as though he'd been running his hands through it. And those eyes, God, those eyes were even more striking than she remembered. "How did you find me?" Maya asked, trying to sound stronger than she felt. "I have resources." He noticed her grip on the knife, and something that might have been approval flickered across his face. "I'm not here to hurt you, Maya. May I come in? I'd rather not have this conversation in the hallway. You know my name. I know a lot of things." He shifted his weight, and she caught a glimpse of ink on his wrist where his sleeve had ridden up. A tattoo. Intricate. Expensive. "Please, 5 minutes." Every self-preservation instinct screamed at her to slam the door. But there was something in his expression, a genuine concern that seemed completely at odds with the dangerous air surrounding him. And he had saved her life. Maya unchained the door and stepped back. Luca entered her small studio apartment, his presence seeming to fill the entire space. He glanced at the knife still in her hand but said nothing about it. "How's your throat?" he asked. "Sore. I'll live." Maya set the knife down on the counter, within easy reach. "What do you want, Mr. Moretti?" "I want to make sure you're safe." He moved to the window, checked the lock, frowned. "This is a ground-floor apartment. No security system. The lock on your door is barely adequate." "I can't exactly afford a penthouse on a gallery assistant's salary." He turned back to her, and something in his expression made her breath catch. "Trevor won't bother you again." "How can you be sure?" "Because I made it very clear what would happen if he did." Luca's voice dropped, taking on an edge that made the hair on her arms stand up. "I also made it clear what would happen if he told anyone what occurred after I removed him from the mall." Maya's mind raced. The way Trevor's roommate had described him leaving, the fear in his voice. What did you do to him? Nothing he didn't deserve. Luca took a step closer, and Maya found herself pressing back against the counter. "He put his hands on you, in public. How many times did he do it when no one was watching?" The question hit her like a slap. "That's none of your business." "You're right, it's not." Another step. He was close enough now that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and woodsy. "But I'm making it my business anyway." "Why?" The word came out as barely a whisper. Luca studied her face with an intensity that made her feel stripped bare. "I saw you across that food court. This beautiful woman with terror in her eyes and fire in her heart, because even while he was choking the life out of you, you were fighting. You never stopped fighting." His jaw clenched. "And every single person around you did nothing. They watched. They filmed. But no one moved." "So you did. So I did." He reached out slowly, telegraphing the movement, and touched the edge of one of the bruises on her throat with shocking gentleness. Maya's breath hitched. "I don't like bullies, Maya. I especially don't like men who put their hands on women." There was a story there, something dark in his past, but before Maya could ask, he pulled his hand away and stepped back. "I came here to offer you protection." Maya blinked. "What?" "Trevor is gone, but men like him rarely work alone. He owes money to some very unpleasant people." "If they come looking for him and find you instead," Luca trailed off meaningfully. "I don't have anything to do with Trevor's debts." "They won't care." He pulled a business card from his pocket, simple black with embossed silver text. Just a name and a phone number. "Keep this. If anyone bothers you, anyone at all, you call me immediately." Maya took the card, their fingers brushing. Electricity shot up her arm. "What are you, some kind of security consultant?" Luca's laugh was dark and humorless. "Something like that." "You're not going to tell me the truth, are you? Would you believe me if I did?" He moved toward the door, then paused. That knife you grabbed. Good instinct. But if someone really wanted to hurt you, they'd be through that door before you could reach it. Keep it closer. Who are you? Maya asked again. Desperately. Luca opened the door, then looked back at her one more time. The dying sunlight caught his face, illuminating the sharp planes and angles, the hint of old violence in the set of his shoulders. I'm someone who keeps his promises, Maya. And I promise you, you're safe now. Then he was gone, leaving her standing in her apartment with a business card burning a hole in her palm and 100 questions rioting in her head. She didn't hear from him again for 2 weeks. The gallery opening, Maya adjusted her black dress for the 1,000th time, watching the crowd filter through the gallery. Her boss, Catherine, had finally given her a shot at curating a small show, and she'd chosen to feature local artists depicting themes of survival and transformation. It was personal. Too personal, maybe. But the bruises on her throat had finally faded, and she was determined to reclaim her life. You look nervous, Jenna said, appearing at her elbow with 2 glasses of champagne. Stop fidgeting. Everything looks amazing. I just want it to go well. It will. Jenna clinked her glass against Maya's. You've got this. The evening was going well until Maya spotted Trevor near the back of the gallery. Her blood turned to ice. He looked thinner, more strung out than ever, his eyes darting around the room like a cornered animal. He shouldn't be here. The restraining order should have kept him away. Their eyes met across the crowded room. Trevor started moving toward her, pushing through the clusters of art patrons. Maya's hand went to her purse, where she'd started carrying pepper spray. Jenna noticed her expression and followed her gaze. Oh, hell no, I'm calling the cops. But before Jenna could pull out her phone, Trevor was standing in front of them. He reeked of alcohol and desperation. Maya, baby, please, he slurred. I just need to talk to you. Just 5 minutes. I'm sorry about what happened. You know I didn't mean it. I was just high and... You need to leave, Maya said, her voice shaking but firm. Now, before I call the police. Don't be like that. Trevor reached for her arm. Maya jerked back, and several people nearby turned to look. I'm in trouble, okay? Real trouble. Those guys, the ones from that night, they found me. They said if I don't pay what I owe by tomorrow, that's not my problem. Please, his voice rose, drawing more attention. Catherine was already moving toward them, her expression alarmed. You have to help me. If you could just lend me some money or talk to your dad. My father is dead, Trevor. You know that. Then your mom or get away from her. The voice cut through the gallery like a blade. Maya's heart leaped into her throat as Luca appeared beside her, seeming to materialize out of thin air. He was in a suit again tonight, charcoal gray with a black shirt and no tie. He looked every inch the dangerous man she'd suspected he was. Trevor went white. You. Me. Luca smiled, and it was the most terrifying expression Maya had ever seen. I thought I made myself clear about the consequences of coming near Maya again. I wasn't going to hurt her. I just needed to talk. You violated a restraining order. You approached her at her place of work. You put your hands on her again. Luca's voice never rose above conversational volume, but somehow it carried through the entire gallery. I'm done being patient with you. 2 men in suits appeared on either side of Trevor. Maya recognized them from the mall. They took Trevor by the arms, and he didn't even try to fight. He just started babbling. Please, man, please, I'll leave. I swear I'll leave. I'll go tonight. I won't come back. Just don't... Take him outside, Luca said quietly. Make sure he understands that if I see him in this city again, in this state again, or anywhere near Maya again, he won't walk away. They dragged Trevor toward the exit. The crowd of art patrons parted like the Red Sea, everyone staring. Catherine looked like she might faint. Jenna was clutching Maya's arm so hard it hurt. Luca turned to Maya, and his expression softened fractionally. Are you all right? She couldn't speak, could barely breathe, because suddenly all the pieces were clicking into place, the way people moved around him, The expensive clothes, the casual violence, the fear in Trevor's eyes. "You're Mafia," she whispered. The gallery had gone completely silent. Every eye was on them. Luca held her gaze for a long moment. Then, deliberately, he took her hand and brought it to his lips. The gesture was old-fashioned, courtly, and completely inappropriate given the circumstances. "I'm someone who protects what's his," he said quietly. "And you've been mine since the moment I saw you fighting for your life while the world looked away." Maya's mind reeled. "I'm not. Tonight, you are." He released her hand and turned to address the stunned crowd. "This event is over. Everyone out. Now." People scrambled for the exits. Within minutes, the gallery was empty except for Maya, Luca, Catherine, and Jenna. Catherine looked like she was trying to decide whether to argue, but one look at Luca's face, and she grabbed her purse. I'll be going then," she stammered. "Maya, take tomorrow off. Take the week off. Take whatever you need." She fled. Jenna hesitated, looking between Maya and Luca. "I'll be fine," Maya told her friend. "Go." "You sure?" "I'm sure." Jenna left, though she kept glancing back over her shoulder. The door clicked shut behind her, and suddenly Maya was alone with Luca Moretti in the middle of her gallery show, surrounded by paintings about survival. The irony wasn't lost on her. "You can't just do that," Maya said, finding her voice. "You can't just come into my life and make these pronouncements and throw people out, and I just did. This is my career. That was my boss. These were potential buyers and critics, and they'll come back," Luca said calmly. "Tomorrow, when the story of Trevor's dramatic ejection makes the rounds, they'll come back in droves. Nothing sells art like scandal." He was probably right, which made her even angrier. "What gives you the right?" "The right?" Luca took a step toward her, and Maya held her ground. "I have no right, but I'm taking it anyway, because I refuse to stand by and watch another man put his hands on you. Because I've spent the last 2 weeks trying to convince myself to stay away from you and failing. Because every time I close my eyes, I see you on that floor, fighting for air, and something in me demands retribution. I'm not a damsel in distress who needs saving." "I know." He was close now, so close she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. "You're a warrior who deserves someone fighting beside her instead of against her. You're brilliant and brave, and you've survived something that would have broken most people. You don't need saving, Maya. But everyone deserves someone in their corner. Someone who won't look away." Maya's breath caught. "You don't know me. Then let me." His hand came up to cup her face with surprising gentleness. "Let me know you. Let me protect you. Let me show you what it's like to be with a man who understands exactly how precious you are. You're a criminal." "Yes." The simple admission shocked her. "You're not even going to deny it?" "Why would I?" "You already know the truth." His thumb traced her cheekbone. "I run one of the largest organized crime families on the East Coast. I've done things that would make you sick. I've hurt people, killed people, ruined lives. I'm not a good man, Maya. I'm probably not even a decent one. Then why would I ever let you near me? Because despite everything I am, despite everything I've done, I look at you and I feel something I haven't felt in years." His voice dropped to barely a whisper. "Hope. You make me feel human again, and I'm selfish enough to want to keep that feeling, even if I don't deserve it." Maya's heart was pounding so hard, she thought it might burst. "This is insane. Probably. I should tell you to leave and never come back. You should. I should call the police right now. They won't help you." His smile was sad. "I own half of them." "That's not funny. It's not meant to be." Luca's hand dropped from her face, and the loss of contact felt like a physical ache. "I'm not asking you to love me, Maya. I'm not even asking you to like me. I'm asking you to let me keep you safe. Let me make sure Trevor and anyone else who might hurt you knows that you're under my protection. That's all. And what do you get out of this arrangement? The knowledge that you're safe. That's enough. It shouldn't be enough. Nothing about this made sense, but Maya found herself asking, what if I want more than protection? Luca went very still. Don't say that unless you mean it. What if I do mean it? Maya's hand came up to rest on his chest, feeling his heart hammering beneath the expensive fabric. What if I've spent the last 2 weeks thinking about you too? What if I look at you and see someone who actually sees me, really sees me, not just as something to fix or control, but as a person worth protecting? Maya. Her name on his lips was a prayer and a warning. What if I'm tired of being careful? What if I want something dangerous for once in my life? You don't know what you're asking for. Then show me. For a moment, Luca just stared at her with those stormy gray eyes. Then he was kissing her, fierce and possessive, and everything Maya hadn't known she needed. She melted into him, her hands fisting in his jacket, and he pulled her closer until there was no space between them. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Luca rested his forehead against hers. This is a terrible idea, he murmured. The worst, Maya agreed. I'll put you in danger just by being near you. I'm already in danger. At least this way, I get you too. Luca laughed, the sound surprised and genuine. You're going to be the death of me. Good. Then we're even. He kissed her again, slower this time, deliberate. When he pulled back, his expression had turned serious. If we do this, if you really want this, there are rules. I'm not good with rules. These ones aren't negotiable. His hands framed her face. You don't lie to me, ever. You tell me when you're scared. You let me protect you without fighting me on every security measure. And you understand that my world is violent and ugly, and there will be times when I have to do things that you won't like. Can I have rules too? Such as, you don't lie to me either. You don't make decisions about my life without consulting me. You respect that I have a career and friends and a life outside of you. And you understand that just because I'm letting you protect me doesn't mean I'm weak or helpless. Deal. He kissed her forehead. You're going to turn my world upside down, aren't you? Probably. Good. It needs it. 6 months later. Maya stood in front of the mirror in Luca's penthouse, adjusting the diamond necklace at her throat. It had been a gift for her birthday last month, accompanied by a private dinner on his yacht, and a promise that he would always keep her safe. He'd kept that promise. More than that, he'd kept all of them. In the months since that night in the gallery, her life had transformed in ways she never could have imagined. Her career had taken off, helped by the connections Luca provided, and the scandal that made her show the talk of the art world. She'd moved out of her ground-floor studio into a secure high-rise apartment that Luca owned. Trevor had disappeared completely, rumored to be in rehab in California, far away and finally getting the help he needed. And Luca. God, Luca had become her everything. He was demanding and possessive, and sometimes infuriatingly overprotective, but he was also tender and thoughtful, and completely devoted to her happiness. He listened when she talked about art. He supported her ambitions. He pushed her to take risks in her career while keeping her safe from the uglier aspects of his world. She'd met his family, terrifying at first, but they'd welcomed her with surprising warmth. His mother had cried and told Luca that Maya was the best thing that had ever happened to him. His sister had pulled Maya aside and warned her that Luca would move mountains for her, so she'd better be sure about what she wanted. Maya was sure. She'd never been more sure of anything. You're thinking too loudly, Luca said, coming up behind her. He wrapped his arms around her waist and kissed her neck. What's going on in that beautiful head? Just thinking about how much has changed. For the better, I hope. Definitely for the better. She turned in his arms, straightening his bow tie. He looked devastating in his tuxedo. All dark sophistication and barely leashed power. They were attending a charity gala tonight, One of the legitimate functions where his family donated enormous sums to maintain their respectable facade. Though I never imagined I'd be dating a mob boss. Technically, I prefer a businessman with morally flexible ethics. Maya laughed. That's what you're going with? It sounds better on tax forms. He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Are you happy, Maya? Truly happy? I am. And she meant it, despite everything, despite the danger and the secrets, and the knowledge of what Luca did in the shadows. She'd never felt more alive, more seen, more cherished. Are you? I didn't know I could be this happy. His expression turned serious. You changed everything for me. Before you, I was just going through the motions. Building an empire but feeling nothing. And then I saw you fighting for your life, and something in me woke up. My savior, Maya teased, but her eyes were suspiciously wet. No. Luca shook his head firmly. You saved yourself. You saved both of us. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Maya's breath stopped. I know it's fast, Luca said, opening the box to reveal a stunning emerald-cut diamond that probably cost more than most people's houses. I know we've only been together 6 months. I know there are 1,000 reasons why this is a terrible idea, but I also know that I love you more than I've ever loved anything or anyone. I know that I want to spend the rest of my life keeping you safe and making you smile. I know that you're the only person who sees both sides of me, the monster and the man, and loves me anyway. Luca, marry me, Maya. His voice was raw with emotion. Be my wife. Let me stand beside you for the rest of our lives. Let me give you everything you deserve. Let me love you the way you should have been loved from the beginning. Maya's hands were shaking. Her heart felt too big for her chest. This man, this dangerous, violent, complicated man, was offering her everything. Not just protection, but partnership. Not just safety, but passion. Not just survival, but a life worth living. Yes, she whispered. Yes, 1,000 times, yes. Luca slipped the ring onto her finger, then pulled her into a kiss that made her forget about the gala entirely. When they finally came up for air, he was smiling in a way she'd never seen before. Open, genuine, almost boyish. I love you, he said simply. I love you too. Maya touched his face, this man who had saved her and claimed her, and changed her entire world. Even though you're probably going to drive me crazy with all your security protocols and overprotective nonsense. Definitely, he kissed her again. But you'll drive me crazy right back, and I wouldn't have it any other way. They were late to the gala. Fashionably late, Luca said, though Maya suspected he'd planned it that way. When they entered the ballroom, his ring glittering on her finger and his arm around her waist, the room went quiet. She could feel the stares, hear the whispers. Everyone knew who Luca Moretti was. Everyone knew what it meant to be with him. But Maya didn't care. Because she also knew what it meant to be loved by him. Cherished, protected, seen. Luca leaned down to whisper in her ear. Still sure about this. Last chance to run. Maya looked up at him, at this beautiful, dangerous man who had appeared at the worst moment of her life and turned it into the beginning of something extraordinary. I'm not running, she said firmly. Not now. Not ever. Good. Luca's smile was fierce and proud. Because you're mine now, Maya. Forever. Forever, she agreed. And as they moved into the crowd together, Maya thought about that day in the mall. The terror and the humiliation, and the certainty that no one was coming to save her. She thought about Trevor's hands around her throat and the awful knowledge that she might die while everyone watched and did nothing. But someone had come. Someone had seen her fighting and decided to fight beside her. Someone had looked at her, bruised and broken and barely holding on, and decided she was worth saving. Not because she needed saving, but because she deserved someone in her corner. And now, with Luca's ring on her finger and his love wrapping around her like armor, Maya finally understood what it meant to be truly safe. Not just protected from danger, but free to be exactly who she was. Free to take risks and build her dreams and love without fear. Trevor had tried to strangle the life out of her in a mall food court, but he'd failed. She'd survived. She'd fought. She'd won. And she'd found something beautiful in the aftermath. As the gala swirled around them and Luca introduced her as his fiancée with unmistakable pride in his voice, Maya caught her reflection in one of the ballroom's ornate mirrors. She barely recognized the woman staring back, confident, radiant, loved. This was her life now, complicated, dangerous, unconventional, but utterly and completely hers, and she wouldn't change a single thing. But happiness in Luca's world was never guaranteed, and Maya was about to learn that the hardest way possible. The attack came 3 weeks after the engagement, on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon when Maya was supposed to be safe. She'd been at the gallery, finalizing details for a new exhibition, when her phone rang. Luca's name flashed across the screen. "Hey, I'm almost done here," she answered. "Should I meet you at—" "Listen to me very carefully." Luca's voice was different, colder than she'd ever heard it. Marco was outside the gallery in the black SUV. "Get in the car right now. Don't stop to get your things. Don't say goodbye to anyone. Just go." Maya's blood went cold. What's happening? "Now, Maya, please." She was already moving, grabbing her purse and heading for the door. Catherine called after her, but Maya didn't stop. Outside, Marco was waiting by the SUV, his hand inside his jacket in a way that made Maya's stomach drop. He opened the door and she climbed in, her heart hammering. The SUV pulled away from the curb with a screech of tires. 2 more vehicles fell in behind them, forming an escort. "Someone want to tell me what's going on?" Maya demanded. Marco's jaw was tight. "There's been a situation. Boss will explain." They drove to one of Luca's safe houses, a nondescript brownstone in a quiet neighborhood. Inside, the place was crawling with armed men. Maya had never seen this side of Luca's operations so openly displayed, and the reality of it hit her like a fist to the gut. Luca was in the living room, standing in front of a wall of security monitors. His jacket was off, his shirt sleeves rolled up, and there was blood on his collar. Not his own, Maya realized with a jolt. Someone else's. "Luca." She crossed to him and he pulled her into his arms so tightly she could barely breathe. "Thank God," he murmured against her hair. "Thank God you're safe." "What happened? Whose blood is that?" Luca pulled back, his face grim. "Someone made a move against my family today, a coordinated attack. They hit 3 of our businesses simultaneously, killed 2 of my men, and tried to abduct my sister from her apartment." Maya's hand flew to her mouth. "Is she okay?" "She's fine, shaken, but fine. Her security detail got her out." Luca's gray eyes were stormy with barely contained rage. "But they came after her, Maya. Which means they know about you too. They know you're my weakness." "Who's they?" "The Volkov family, Russian mob. We've had an uneasy truce for years, but apparently their new leader decided to test our strength." Luca's fist clenched. He made a mistake. Maya had never seen him like this. The cultured, controlled man she loved had been replaced by something colder, something deadly. This was the mob boss everyone feared. This was the man who'd built an empire on violence and intimidation. "What are you going to do?" she asked quietly. "What I have to." He cupped her face in his hands. "But first, I need to know you're protected. You'll stay here until this is resolved. I'm doubling your security detail. You don't go anywhere without Marco and at least 3 other men. You don't— Luca, stop!" Maya grabbed his wrists. "Talk to me. Really talk to me. What's happening?" He closed his eyes for a moment, and when he opened them again, she saw the fear beneath the fury. Dmitry Volkov wants a war. He's young, ambitious. Thinks he can take what we've built. And he's smart enough to know that the fastest way to hurt me is to hurt the people I love. So, this is about you and me. This is about power and territory, and a dozen other things you shouldn't have to worry about. Luca's thumb traced her cheekbone. But yes, you being with me puts a target on your back. I knew it would. I thought I could protect you, but today proved how vulnerable you really are. Maya's mind raced. She'd known what she was getting into when she said yes to Luca. She'd known his world was dangerous, but knowing something intellectually and living it were two very different things. What if I wasn't here? She asked suddenly. Luca stiffened. What? What if I left? Just for a little while, until this is over. Then Volkov couldn't use me against you. No, the word was flat. Absolute. That's not an option. But if I'm putting you in danger, you're not putting me anywhere. Dmitry Volkov made this choice, not you. Luca's hands tightened on her face. And I will burn his entire organization to the ground before I let him touch you. Do you understand me? I will go to war for you, Maya. I will kill anyone who tries to take you from me. The intensity in his voice should have terrified her. Instead, Maya felt something fierce and primitive surge in her chest. This was love in its rawest form. Possessive, violent, absolute. Then let me help, she said. Absolutely not. Luca, I'm not asking permission. If I'm going to be part of your life, really part of it, then I need to understand what that means. I can't just hide in safe houses while you fight battles for me. You have no idea what you're asking. Then show me. Maya grabbed his shirt, pulling him closer. Stop trying to protect me from reality. I chose you knowing what you are. All of you. The good and the bad and the ugly. So stop hiding it from me. Luca stared at her for a long moment. Then he turned to the security monitors, pulling her to stand beside him. That's Dmitry Volkov, he said, pointing to a grainy image of a man in his 30s, blonde and handsome in a cold Nordic way. He took over his father's organization 6 months ago. He's ambitious, ruthless, and he thinks the old rules don't apply to him. What old rules? We don't target families. We don't involve civilians. We keep our wars contained. Luca's jaw clenched, but Dmitry doesn't care about tradition. He'll burn everything down to prove a point. Maya studied the image. So what's the plan? We hit them back, harder. We make it clear that attacking my family was the last mistake he'll ever make. When? Tonight. Luca glanced at her. I'll be gone for a few hours, maybe longer. You'll be safe here with Marco and the others. And then? And then we see if Dmitry is smart enough to surrender, or stupid enough to keep fighting. Maya turned to face him fully. Promise me you'll come back. Maya. Promise me, Luca, because if something happens to you, if you die fighting for me and I'm stuck here in some safe house while it happens, I will never forgive you. He pulled her against his chest, his heart pounding beneath her ear. I promise. I always come back to you. They stood like that for a long moment, holding each other while armed men moved around them, and security monitors flickered with images of a city about to explode into violence. Then Luca kissed her, fierce and desperate like he was memorizing the taste of her. When he pulled away, his eyes were blazing. I love you, he said. Remember that. No matter what happens, no matter what you hear, I love you more than anything in this world. I love you too, Maya's voice cracked. So you better come back to me in one piece, or I'm coming after you myself. He smiled despite everything. I believe you would. Then he was gone, taking half the men with him and leaving Maya in the safe house with Marco, and a crushing sense of dread. The hours that followed were the longest of Maya's life. She tried to distract herself with her phone, with work emails, with anything that would keep her mind off what Luca was doing. But every sound made her jump. Every whispered conversation between the guards made her heart race. Marco tried to reassure her. Boss has been doing this for 20 years. He knows what he's doing. But Maya had seen the fear in Luca's eyes beneath all that rage. This was different, more dangerous, personal in a way that made careful men reckless. It was past midnight when her phone rang. An unknown number. Maya's hand shook as she answered. Hello? Maya Reeves. The voice was accented, cultured, Russian. I hope I'm not calling too late. Her blood turned to ice. Who is this? My name is Dmitry Volkov. I believe your fiancé and I are having a disagreement. Marco was already moving, making frantic hand signals. Maya hit the speaker button so he could hear. What do you want? She asked, trying to keep her voice steady. I want Luca Moretti to understand that he can't win this fight. I want him to know that everything he loves, everything he's built, can be taken away in an instant. Dimitri's voice was pleasant, conversational, which somehow made it more terrifying. And I want you to deliver a message for me. I'm not your messenger. Oh, I think you will be. Because if you don't, I'll kill someone you love. Maybe your friend Jenna. Maybe your mother in Florida. Maybe that nice gallery owner who gave you your first big break. So many options. Maya's vision blurred with rage and fear. Beside her, Marco was on his radio, barking orders. But she forced herself to focus. To stay calm. What's the message? Tell Luca that I'll give him one chance to walk away. He dissolves his organization, transfers his territories to me, and disappears. In exchange, I let him live. I let you live. I let everyone he cares about live. Dmitri paused. He has 24 hours to decide. The line went dead. Maya sat frozen, the phone still in her hand. Marco was already calling Luca, shouting into his radio about the call. The safe house erupted into controlled chaos. 10 minutes later, Luca burst through the door, his face a mask of cold fury. He crossed to Maya in 3 strides, checking her over like he expected to find her injured. I'm fine, she said. He just called. He didn't... I know. Marco told me. Luca pulled her against him, and she felt him trembling with barely suppressed rage. He's dead. I don't care what it takes. He's dead. Luca, he said. I don't care what he said. Luca pulled back to look at her. I don't care about his ultimatum. He threatened you. He threatened my family. There's no walking away from that. But if you fight him, more people will die. They'll die anyway. Men like Dmitri don't keep promises. If I give him what he wants, he'll take it and then kill us all anyway. At least this way, we go down fighting. Maya grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. Then let's not go down at all. You're smarter than him, Luca. You've survived this long because you think strategically. So stop being angry and start thinking. Something shifted in his expression. The rage was still there, but beneath it she saw the calculating mind that had built an empire. What are you suggesting? You said Dmitri is young and ambitious. That means he's surrounded by older men who resent him taking over. Men who remember his father and the old ways. Maya's mind was racing, pieces falling into place. What if we give them a reason to doubt him? What if we make them see that following him is a death sentence? Luca's eyes widened slightly. You want to turn his own people against him. Can you do that? Maybe. He was already thinking, planning. Dimitri's second in command is a man named Sergei. He was loyal to Dimitri's father. Rumor is he wasn't happy when the old man died, and Dmitri took over. So we talked to Sergei, offer him a way out. It's risky. Everything about this is risky. Maya grabbed his hands. But it's better than an all-out war. Better than more people dying. Luca studied her face for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call. Get me a secure line to Sergei Volkov, he said. Tell him I want to talk. Just talk. Neutral territory. The meeting happened 2 hours later, in an abandoned warehouse on the docks. Maya insisted on going, despite Luca's protests. "If this is my life now, I need to see all of it," she'd said. "Besides, maybe having me there will prove you're serious about peace." Sergei Volkov was a bear of a man, probably in his 60s, with gray hair and cold blue eyes. He came with 2 bodyguards. Luca had 6, plus Marco. They faced each other across a bare concrete floor while Maya stood slightly behind Luca, trying to look braver than she felt. "This is unexpected," Sergei said in heavily accented English. "You ask for meeting after attacking 3 of our warehouses tonight. Your boss attacked my businesses first, tried to kidnap my sister, threatened my fiancé." Luca's voice was level but hard. "I was responding in kind. Dmitri is young, passionate. He wants to prove himself. He wants to start a war neither of our families can afford." Luca took a step forward. "You were there in the old days, Sergei. You remember what the wars were like. How many good men died. How much money was lost. How much heat it brought from the cops and the feds." Sergei's expression didn't change, but Maya saw something flicker in his eyes. Recognition, maybe even agreement. "What are you proposing?" the older man asked. "I'm proposing that you help me remove Dmitri from power. Peacefully, if possible. In exchange, I guarantee your position in the new leadership. We go back to the old agreements, the old territories. No more aggression, no more unnecessary violence. You ask me to betray my boss. I'm asking you to save your organization from a reckless child who's going to get everyone killed." Luca's jaw clenched. Dmitri threatened civilians tonight. He broke the old rules. Do you really want to follow someone like that? Sergei was quiet for a long moment. Then his eyes shifted to Maya. "This is the woman?" "Yes," Luca said simply. "She must be very special for Luca Moretti to risk peace over her." "She is." Luca's hand found Maya's, their fingers intertwining. "She's worth risking everything for." Sergei studied them both. Then he sighed, suddenly looking every one of his 60-plus years. "Dmitri's father was my friend. We built empire together. When he died, I promised to look after his son." His expression hardened. "But the son is not the father. He is cruel without purpose, ambitious without wisdom. And tonight, when you hit our warehouses, he wanted to respond by bombing civilian targets, shopping centers, restaurants, places where innocent people would die." Maya's breath caught. "I told him no," Sergei continued. "I told him we don't do this, but he didn't listen. He said the old ways are dead. That fear is the only thing that matters now." The Russian shook his head. "This is not the organization I helped build." "Then help me stop him," Luca said quietly. "Help me end this before more people die." Sergei looked at his bodyguards, then back at Luca. "What do you need?" They talked for another hour, Maya listening as they planned Dmitri's downfall with cold precision. "It wouldn't be violent," Sergei insisted. Dmitri would be given a choice: leave the city and the business permanently, or face a vote of no confidence from his own people. With Sergei's support and Luca's promise not to retaliate, most of Dmitri's organization would likely choose peace over war. And if Dmitri refused? Well, Sergei's expression made it clear that refusal wasn't really an option. "I will contact you tomorrow with his answer," Sergei said as they prepared to leave. He paused at the door, looking back at Maya. "You love him? Truly?" Maya didn't hesitate. "With everything I am." "Then you are very brave, or very foolish. Perhaps both." Sergei's smile was sad. "This life, it is not easy for women like you, civilian women. They see the money and the power, but they don't see the cost." "I've seen enough," Maya said quietly. "And I'm still here." Sergei nodded slowly. Then perhaps there is hope for Luca after all. He has needed someone to remind him what he fights for. He turned to Luca. "Protect her. She is a rare thing in our world. something pure. Then he was gone, disappearing into the night with his guards. Luca pulled Maya close, burying his face in her hair. You were incredible. I was terrified. You didn't show it. He pulled back to look at her. This is really what you want? This life? These midnight meetings and constant danger and— Yes, Maya interrupted. Because you're worth it. We're worth it. She touched his face. And because I'd rather face danger with you than safety without you. Luca kissed her then, deep and passionate and full of promise. When they finally broke apart, both of them were breathing hard. Let's go home, he murmured. Which home? Ours, the penthouse. I want to sleep in our bed with you in my arms and pretend, just for tonight, that the world isn't trying to tear us apart. They drove through the quiet city streets, Marco and the security detail following at a discreet distance. Maya leaned against Luca's shoulder, exhausted but strangely at peace. They'd faced the worst tonight, the threats, the violence, the impossible choices, and they'd come through it together. Did you mean what you said to Sergei? Luca asked quietly. That you love me with everything you are? Every word. Even knowing what I've done tonight? The men I've hurt? Maya was quiet for a moment, thinking about the blood on his collar and the cold fury in his eyes, and the way he'd planned violence with the same precision most people planned dinner parties. I'm not going to lie and say it doesn't scare me sometimes, what you're capable of, what you've done. She laced her fingers through his. But I also know why you do it, to protect your family, to keep the people you love safe. And I know that you're more than just the violence. You're brilliant and loyal, and you make me laugh, and you look at me like I hung the moon. You did, Luca said simply. Before you, everything was dark. They pulled up to the penthouse, and for the first time in hours, Maya felt like she could breathe again. Inside, away from the threats and the negotiations and the constant danger, they were just Luca and Maya. Two people who'd found each other against impossible odds and refused to let go. Luca poured them both a drink, and they stood on the balcony overlooking the city. Somewhere out there, Dmitry Volkov was making his choice. Somewhere out there, the future of two criminal empires hung in the balance. But here, in this moment, none of that mattered. Tomorrow, Luca said, we'll know if this worked. If Dmitry accepts Sergei's terms. And if he doesn't, then we fight. Luca's arm tightened around her waist. But we fight together. No more hiding you away. No more pretending you're not part of this. Promise? Promise. He kissed her temple. You're my partner now, Maya, in everything. They stayed on the balcony until the sun started to rise, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. And when Luca's phone finally rang with news that Dmitry had agreed to step down, that the threat was over, Maya felt something break open in her chest. Relief, joy, and underneath it all, a fierce satisfaction that they'd won. Not through violence, but through strategy and courage and the strength they gave each other. It's over, Luca said, pulling her close. You're safe. We're safe. Maya looked up at him, at this complicated, dangerous, beautiful man who'd saved her and claimed her, and loved her with an intensity that still took her breath away. We did it. You did it, he corrected. Your idea, your courage. You saved us tonight, Maya. You saved all of us. She kissed him then, pouring everything she felt into it. All the fear and love and triumph and relief. When they finally broke apart, both of them were smiling. Come on, Luca said, pulling her toward the bedroom. We have a wedding to plan, and a life to live, and I intend to spend every single day making sure you never regret choosing me. I won't, Maya promised. Not ever. And as the sun rose over the city, illuminating the penthouse in warm golden light, Maya knew with absolute certainty that she'd found exactly where she belonged. Not in safety, not in comfort, but here, with Luca, In a life that was messy and complicated and sometimes terrifying, but always, always real. She'd been strangled by one man and saved by another, and in the process she'd found something she never knew she was looking for. A love fierce enough to weather anything. A partnership strong enough to face down armies. A future bright enough to make all the darkness worth it. This was her life now, and she wouldn't change it for anything in the world.